Whenever I'm looking at Glamrock Bonnie and the entire mystery of his disappearance, there is always a feeling that some important part of the puzzle is missing. Some parts don't make sense or contradict each other. The mystery is a vague storyline in the background, but for some reason it feels important. So let's explore in full why this mystery is so mysterious, and how Glamrock Bonnie could be a much bigger deal than he appears to be. Yeah, I'm gonna build an actual case here, and since I'm not a professional detective, it will turn into a mess very fast.
Who gives a shit about Glamrock Bonnie?
Shush! Let me cook. Our starting point is to figure out what do we actually know about Bonnie's character, and what role he plays in the story. Easier said than done because practically nothing is known about him. Characters serve different roles in stories. Some can be a antagonist, some can be a minor antagonist, some will serve as a world building tool, some will have a character arc, while others won't. In our case, rather than being a character himself, Bonnie serves a purpose of deepening some other characters: Glamrock Freddy, Montgomery Gator, and to some extent Cassie's father. In return, these characters also can show us something important about Bonnie. The fact that Freddy had a very good relationship with him, the customers are missing him, and he was a favorite of Cassie's father, all point us into one direction: Bonnie had an overall positive reputation. While Freddy is naive, a character like him wouldn't be very close to someone who would be a negative influence on the customers. Cassie's father, with how much of a Fazbear fan he is, and how he with seemingly no clear payoff tries to help some of the animatronics, doesn't seem like a guy who would like Bonnie if he was a jerk. And lastly, the message about kids asking about Bonnie is written in plural, implying that there were a lot of such cases, and that gives Bonnie even more reputation points. Other than that, there seems to be no other thing that could help us here. None of the characters go into details about him. We have some unused voice lines from Who Wanted To, and even those don't show us anything, they are very generic. On the contrary of good points, Monty was seemingly hating Bonnie from the very beginning. In the VIP, which happens in the early times of the Pizzaplex, when Monty was just created and Bonnie was still around, Monty shows an unusual amount of aggression when he sees Bonnie's candy. In one of the stories in Tales from the Pizzaplex, Monty was mentioned to be a narcissist, and in Fury's Rage, made by Scott before the release of Security Breach, Monty has this to say if he dies.
How could this happen? I'm so good looking.
So it's without a shadow of a doubt that Monty had a career motive here. And what's even better is that we are moving to Security Breach, and we have a security log of where Bonnie was last seen. He was last seen entering Monty Golf. We also have another message about Monty chilling on the catwalks away from everyone, and it sounds like this takes place when Bonnie is already gone, which possibly shows that Monty could have had some regrets, as he was actually skipping his performances for that. While this points at Monty being the main suspect, Security Breach also gives us another interesting observation. Despite Bonnie being popular, Fazbear were very quick to discard him. With Bonnie out of commission, we are making Monty the new bass player. This could be a good thing. Monty could be even more popular than Bonnie. An unusual move for a corporation that has profit as their top priority. This becomes even stranger because it is evident by the amount of endos in parts and service, and by Fazbear throwing broken animatronics into the sewers and replacing them with new ones, that they could have easily replaced Bonnie, and yet they didn't. So while the evidence points at Monty, Fazbear could have been complicit, or even behind the whole thing. However, we do have a problem here that makes everything harder. We need to pinpoint at what part of the story Bonnie has disappeared, to better understand what happened, and unfortunately there is no clear answer to that question. Instead, we have two most likely options that will lead to some differences in some of our conclusions. The Pizzaplex operated for about 4 or 5 years. Bonnie was alive at the time of the VIP, and Devon mentions how it feels like the Pizzaplex changes every year, meaning that by the time of the VIP the Pizzaplex was around for at least 2 years, most likely 3. And the first working theory is that Bonnie died right after that, after performing for 2-3 years, after Monty's maze was repurposed into the Monty Golf. This version of events gives us an interesting route of what could have happened. Yes, in this scenario Monty is 100% a killer. Glitch Trap was not yet present, and since we know the reaction of Fazbear Entertainment, there could have been a twist to it. While the animatronics have parts of their personalities coded into them, they also develop them further over time. But at that point, Monty was a fresh addition. He was programmed to be more aggressive due to Monty's maze requiring that sort of personality. But did he really develop such a strong hatred toward Bonnie in such a short amount of time, or was he created with it? Let's look at an alternative. Bonnie disappearing around the storyteller and GGY. This timing has a bit of a problem. While in the previous scenario it is absolutely clear that Bonnie is alive at the time of the VIP, here in the storyteller we have an unreliable information. When the storyteller started affecting the animatronics, Edwin says, "Several of the characters associated with various attractions, like Monty's Gators Golf, Roxy Raceway, Father Blast and Bonnie Bowl, were exhibiting unusual behaviors." Bonnie Bowl is mentioned as a place that has a functioning animatronic, and who else could it be if not Bonnie himself? However, in the same book, Mr. Burroughs says this. Between shows, the main performers, Glamrock Freddy, Roxanne Wolf, Montgomery Gator and Glamrock Chica, hung out in their green rooms. We should also not forget that in GGY, Monty was mentioned as a main stage animatronic as well. So, Monty has already replaced Bonnie on the main stage. It's not necessarily a contradiction, but this is the part where things are getting messy, because there are two ways to interpret it. Option A. Edwin mentioned Bonnie Bowl just as a figure of speech, or it's a mistake on the part of the writer, and Bonnie has actually already disappeared. Option B. Edwin tells the truth, and Bonnie is still around. But since Mr. Burroughs mentions Monty as the main stage performer, it would mean that Bonnie was already demoted. This option in particular leads us to more possibilities of what could be happening here. Bonnie had his own stage in Bonnie Bowl, so he definitely could have been demoted to play only there, and this would also get Monty the clothes to dispose of him. The problem here is that then there is a question of motivation, and honestly, Glamrocks, apart from Chica, already have clothes to begin with, so I don't see this as strong evidence. After all, we have all seen what stuff bots can do, and they don't have clothes at all. However, we still should keep in mind that Monty could have been affected by the storyteller or glitch trap, resolving the motivation part of this. With that, we can finally move on to Ruin, and to the most interesting parts of the puzzle. In Ruin, Cassie mentions Bonnie as her father's favorite several times, and then finds Bonnie's body if you disable all the floor bots on the way to Bonnie Bowl. And the crime scene is very strange to say the least. Steel wool are always good when it comes to environment, so every detail we see here is important. We should start with the contradiction. Despite the security log saying that Bonnie was last seen entering Monty Golf, his body is on the other side of the Pizzaplex. This could mean one of two things. Either someone moved Bonnie's body without anyone seeing, or the security report is a fake report made by Fazbear Entertainment or Vanessa to divert attention from Bonnie Bowl. Monty moving Bonnie's body is not unrealistic, especially considering that the damage looks like it was dealt by Monty, and there's a carpet from Monty Golf under Bonnie. On the other hand, Fazbear could have got rid of Bonnie with the hands of Monty in Bonnie Bowl and falsified the report. In the previous video about Bonnie a year ago, I mentioned that Vanessa could be behind the false report. However, this requires more nuance. Vanessa could have been behind the report only if Bonnie died around the storyteller or GGY, as at the time of the VIP Vanessa wasn't working at the Pizzaplex yet. Because of that, it is unlikely that she is responsible for anything here. But if we entertain the idea that Bonnie died much later than VIP, then it could have been that glitch trap, through Vanessa, pulled the strings to get rid of Bonnie for whatever reasons. Bonnie was found by someone. I doubt it was Monty who put the floorboards in here. Can't really imagine this guy doing that. This means that whoever found Bonnie is guilty of not repairing him. We already established that Bonnie had a good reputation. That doesn't mean he wasn't causing trouble for Fazbear Entertainment themselves or for Glitch Trap, perhaps leading them to play along with Monty's ambitions. But if Bonnie was killed by Monty in Monty Golf, then why are there signs of a fight in the place where his body is? And if this suggests that Bonnie was killed here and the security report was false, then why are there parts of a staff bot near his body? This is a pretty bizarre detail here, and I find it hard to ignore. As I said, Steelwool always puts a strong emphasis on the environment. If they wanted to make this place look messier, they would have just used some rubble. But these parts of a staff bot could be pointing us at something else. With this, we could proceed with the theory that Bonnie was killed by staff bots, similar to how they kill Freddy in the bad ending, and that the green paint on his chest is just sludge from Monty Golf. But this theory fails because of something we will talk about in a bit. So there is another option that is left for us here. There could have been another altercation after Bonnie died. What kind of altercation is up to your imagination. Maybe a staff bot caught Monty when he was hiding the body here, and Monty got rid of him. Maybe this room already had a staff bot who was just doing his job. After all, Bonnie's room on the other side of the alley has them. Maybe after Bonnie's body was discovered, staff bots started fighting each other for whatever reasons. This mystery has too many layers, and leaves a lot of room for theorizing. Every character turns into a suspect, and the number of possibilities for how the events played out is off the charts. And we can simply take a look at several examples. Some believe it was Roxy who killed Bonnie, due to the correlation between her green nails and the green paint on his wound, as well as her showing aggression against driver bots. Some believe it was Moon, as Moon shows the ability to get Gregory out of Freddy's chest, presumably by breaking it, and also because the daycare attendant's room has a broken staff bot in it. There are even theories that Prototype Freddy might have been involved. Yes, we are going as deep as that. But hey, I'm not even a theorist here.
There's actually some evidence that while Monty was involved with Glamrock Bonnie's death, he wasn't the only one involved, and Bonnie wasn't his only victim. After all, in the Monty Golf ride in Ruin, where we see Monty at the base of a whirlwind carrying Glamrock Bonnie away, likely in reference to the hurricane hole-in-one bucket we know from Security Breach can badly damage animatronics, there's also a Glamrock Freddy statue that's positioned to look like its head was broken off by the hurricane. Considering we see a prototype of Glamrock Freddy in Ruin that's missing its head, has sharp claws, and has a gift box matching Monty's color scheme, it could be the case that this prototype Freddy isn't meant to be the Freddy from Security Breach, but a different Freddy that initially attacked Bonnie on the Monty Golf catwalks due to Glitchtrap wanting him to intervene in whatever supernatural or otherwise strange stuff was going on with Bonnie. Meanwhile, Monty potentially saw an opportunity to take out the two main leads of the band to get himself put in as leader, and trigger the hurricane bucket, damaging both of them and knocking them off the catwalks. Bonnie then went missing, and Prototype Freddy was scrapped, with his personality and memories being transferred to a new, non-prototype model with a separate gift box that got used up by Gregory during Security Breach.
So if this mystery is so mysterious, is there a way to untangle it? Is there a way to at least prove Monty's part in it? Well, aside from the obvious hints, like the way he dies from the bunny sign, there's one thing that appeared not so long ago. This is Julia Redden, an associate game designer for Ruin, and this is her portfolio. She worked on some of the levels, among them the sinkhole, bakery, saloon, and most importantly this section with Monty. And this is what she had to say about this level in the end. After the player sprays the water and does a puzzle while in the water, specifically designed to give the player a panic moment, they are treated to a cinematic, where Monty is electrocuted by a neon sign of a character he killed. Players who pay attention to the story can enjoy the irony. So that's that. A direct confirmation on top of everything we know. This means we can rule out the option with Bonnie being killed by staff bots and some other theories that rely on a different killer. However, it doesn't help us with the question, what has actually happened? And I'm afraid we will never know the answer unless someone will give us the timing when the disappearance took place, as the involvement of Glitchtrap and Vanessa relies on it. Without it, we will never be able to determine if Monty killed Bonnie out of his own ambition, or if he could have been nudged by someone else, as well as we will never know to what extent Fazbear Entertainment were involved, and if they truly could have created Monty for the purpose of getting rid of a member of the group who was problematic for them. It's not that far-fetched as in the loading dock ending Fazbear replaced Rebellious Freddy with Monty. I won't mention the obvious theory how the storyteller could have been involved, but there are several interesting details that I left out and that are worth talking about, even if some may deem them unimportant since they are in the novels. First, in Escape the Pizzaplex, when Gregory and Cassie ran to hide from Monty in Bonnie Ball, Gregory was the first to get there, and he hides behind a door on the far side of the bowling alley. I'm pretty sure this implies that GGY was hiding inside the room with Bonnie's body. But you might begin to wonder, there is no door that could lead us there. Well, yes, not in the final version of Security Breach. But I find it peculiar that there was planned to be a door there at some point in development. Of course, this doesn't confirm Glitchtrap's involvement, but it does show that he was aware of Bonnie's fate. And another interesting detail that I think I've seen being discussed only once or twice is in the VIP. The way VIP establishes how Monty was rivals with Bonnie is obvious, but there is a strange detail that usually goes under the radar. If Devon chooses the Bonnie card in the raceway and uses Turbo Button, it turns out the card was sabotaged with Monty's mystery mix. When discussing what happened, VIP suggests that someone sabotaged this particular core card, rather than the driver. A very interesting notion. I wonder who would have the motivation to sabotage a go-kart teamed after Bonnie with Monty's mystery mix. We are now in the theory space again, but I think we can consider that this can tell us something about the possible dynamic between Monty and Bonnie. Each Glamrock is a very memorable character. Some could even say that they are very archetypical. Girly and kind Chica, hot-headed and brutish Monty, and so on. However, there is an archetype that is missing, a jokester or a prankster. If we consider that Bonnie was a prankster and loved jokes, then some parts of the puzzle begin to make sense. This explains why kids are missing him, and most importantly, it explains why Bonnie would go to Monty Golf in the first place, with his death possibly being a result of a prank gone wrong. As for how Monty could lose control, it's the same story. Glitchtrap, the storyteller, or Monty's aggression showed itself like it did when he saw Bonnie's candy before. But this is just a theory. Now that we've finished with this mamba jamba, all I can say is, obviously the story of Bonnie is a mess. A result of many writers doing their own thing, as well as a result of Scott not caring enough about Bonnie and the development of Security Breach that at first had no plans for Bonnie in Ruin. This is pretty obvious if you restore the window in Bonnie Bowl overlooking Roxy Raceway. You can see how the room with Bonnie has no place to be where it is in Ruin. While Bonnie has the potential to become important, in this story he feels like a mystery that can't just be left as it is. He was never positioned as someone important to the main plot, and all this mess probably won't help Scott to come up with a good idea for him. But I think I'm gonna leave it at that, and return to it if something new comes up, although I really doubt it. Shout out to ID's Fantasy for her theory, Zanvox for thumbnail render, Boxy for missing poster, and Pizzaduffy for not giving a shit about Bonnie. Thanks for watching, press like and subscribe if you like this video, watch another one if you want to. Good luck, and I'll see you again soon.